for this event was to allow pastors and churches to come together and truly work together to reach our city. There's 8.5 million people living in New York City, and less than 5% are churched. We saw this as an opportunity to get together and collaborate.
Our God is greater, our God is stronger, God, you are higher than any other, our God is healer.
WMCA does this to support the community of pastors and the regional communities each of the pastors serve.
The collaborative event today is a part of 62 different pastors events we do all over the country.
We're delighted to be here. This isn't our first time, of course. We've come multiple times. And just this collaboration with pastors and leaders of this city is just a wonderful opportunity for us to work together.
So would you please welcome to collaborate Dr. Fernando Cabrera.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Come on, let's give it up for Kevin. Every afternoon, I know we all hear him, and every time I hear you on WMCA, I'm asking myself, what's going to be the issue of the day? And I know many times I want to call in and give my opinions, but I thank you. I thank you for your leadership, for the impact, and Steve and Ron, thank you for the invitation and the word that Pastor Ryan just gave is really a foundation that is going to save me sometimes a sphere of time here for what I want to talk to you about next. And we were given this assignment to talk about the digital pulpit. And so can I give you some practical, very practical things to do in your church? But first, I need to know where I'm going to invest my energy. How many of you are pastors? Raise your hand. Let me see your hand. All the pastors? Wow, fantastic. How many leaders? How many leaders? How many of you are still trying to figure out who you are? Come on, somebody. Come on. All right, fantastic. Let me just tell you that before I begin, I had to spend 1 minute so you can understand the context on which I approach this issue of the digital pulpit. And that is, in our church in the Bronx, I call it the promised land in the Bronx. I know the rest of you live in islands. You know how the Bible says it's going to get flooded. All the islands are going to be covered with water. You could come to the Bronx. We'll make room for you. But what I do want to let you know is that in our church, we focus really only on 4 things. We want people to get to know God. How many know that's important? Come on, we want people to have an experience with God, not just to know about God, but to experience God, to encounter God, even more important for God to encounter them. And then we want to move on from there to know God, and then we want them to find freedom, because we got a lot of people that come to church, but they're bound up, they're in bondage, they're in a spiritual hostage situation. And then we want to move them from there to discover their purpose. Because there are people that come to church, they got to know God, they found their freedom, but they're not connected to their purpose. The last research that I saw in this, 87% of people do not know what their gifting is. And then after that, we want to move on to make a difference. And that's the end game. We wanna move people through stages that at the end of the day, they're making a difference. Because I know for a pastor, there's nothing more annoying to having somebody in a church that's been there for 20 years and they ain't doing nothing. Do I have a witness today? And so having said that, I had to say that because what I'm about to share won't make sense, or it would just be a lot of hit and misses if we don't have, at least from my point of view, that context. Very dear to my heart is the next generation of young people. What I'm seeing in churches nowadays is a church, I see two types of churches. I see one that focus on reaching young people. And what that almost guarantee is that church will not die in that generation. If I see a church that has no young people, it worries me, because after they all pass away, you end up with 6 or 7 people holding to a lot of real estate. And that's what we're seeing in the city. We see big buildings, but with a few trustees, they're trying to figure out how to bail out and make a profit after all those years. What I like to see is the first type of church when we are really focused on young people, on reaching young people, reaching the next generation of leaders, because I always say young people, they're not the future, they're the now. Now, how do we do that? And how do we reach the adults? They just mentioned Facebook. I love Facebook. We could reach more people nowadays through the digital world than we have ever been. We could reach more people on a Sunday morning than we have chairs in our churches. That you could have even multiple services. One of the things that I want to share with you is that you should be investing, and part of your budget should be focused on marketing. And marketing in social media. And I know that Salem, they have a product there that I would love for you to check out to get your message out. We know that businesses spend at least 5 to 6% to get their message out. How many know we got the most important message in the whole wide world, that Jesus saves? And so, at the very least, we should be beginning thinking about spending, at least starting, baby step, 3% of our budget to get the word out. There's something amazing is happening in our congregation, because whatever people are not up on, they're down on. And part of that is that you need to really find out what's your brand. I know we don't like to use that term sometimes in church, but the reality is that you have a brand. What is branding? What is a brand? A brand is not what I think my church is. A brand is what people think that our church is. It's really your reputation. I sat down with our pastors and leaders. We sat down literally for 3 hours. It took us 3 hours to figure out what our brand was. And we finally came out with a one-liner, and we wanted to bring it down to one line. It was where the church where real relationships happen. Because our church is big on relationships. Our relationships with God and our relationship with other people. And so I want to encourage you, before I give you some of these tips, really find out what are people saying about your church, because you might find yourself coming up, like it was just said, a nice website. You have a really nice website that said, this is what we want to be. People show up to your church and said, this is not what I saw on the website. And I have to tell you, there's not a week that I've seen in the last couple of years where we don't get guests that came as a result of people coming as a result of social media, our website, the Google, churches in the Bronx. And you say, well, how do I get my church to come to the top? I'll share that in a little while. But I want to make sure that when people come to our church that we don't do false advertisement. So when they come, they say, this is exactly what I saw online, and this is exactly what's here. I found my tribe. I found my home, and this is where I'm going to raise my family in the things of God. One of the things that I want to encourage you to do, especially those of us, I'm 55 years old. I was raised in a generation, you preach a whole hour. Anybody? I know you're good. I know you're really good. But that generation, I have to be honest with you, when you see television programs being 30 minutes, when you see radio shows being 30 minutes, 29 minutes long, as a matter of fact, TED Talk, they say that the most effective message that you could put out is 19 minutes long. And I know we all think we're really that good. But Jesus' longest sermon that I find in the Bible is 10 minutes long. And that is an amazing sermon. The most powerful message ever preached was the Sermon in the Mount. And you could really, in really slow motion, and it's 10 minutes long. How many would agree that that was a powerful message? I learned that the shorter messages are more impactful messages, and they're harder to come up with. To say what you have to say in a short amount of time, and that is important because if you're going to put your program in a radio format, if you're going to put it online, if you're going to put it on YouTube, people are not looking for an hour and a half sermon nowadays. For on YouTube, they're looking for that, 30 minutes, and then you can take clips of that and choose the 3-4 minute. Have you ever gone to YouTube and you said, you're looking for that one-liner for your message, and you just filter it, and it says 4 minutes or less? You don't feel like hearing a whole hour message. You're looking for the best line that T.T. Jakes came up with. Come on. Oh, Pastor A.R. Bernard, I was hoping that I would see him to apologize and ask him for forgiveness for every message that I have ever stolen from him. And you too, come on. But the reality is that whether you're going to go on BronxNet or MN public television, whether you're going to put stuff in social media, people are looking for something that is concise and to get to the point. That's what people are looking for. Here's the other thing I want to share with you is that we want to take people from information to persuasion. Persuasion says, I have content which will make you better. Let me tell you one of the biggest mistakes that we make as a pastor when it comes to social media, and that is that we just want to invite people to come to our church. And so every day, come this Sunday, we're going to have a revival. We're going to have a move of God. And we put ourselves, preach. And we just come out with the greatest graphic. People are not interested so much in that. Let me tell you what people are looking for. They're looking to see how you're going to make my life better. That's the hook. The hook in there is that people are looking for how is this going to change my life right now? I believe that loving on people requires that you add on to their life. You make them better. That's what Jesus did. Everywhere that Jesus went, he was adding to people. That's why people were just following Jesus with such a passion because he kept adding to them. Whenever people were around him, they got healed. When they were around him, they got delivered. Whenever they got around him, they had insight. Whenever they got him, they got filled with the presence of God. When they got around him, something happened. And I tell you, we could do that online. Online where we could, in every digitized way, that people will be craving every single day, what is Pastor going to share today? What is that one thing? I need a word. How many know that people are looking for a word from God? They're looking for a word regarding their family, their friends, regarding their relationship, their future, their vocation. They're looking for a download. For some of them, just to make it today. For some of them, not to commit suicide. For some of them, to deal with their child that is bound by drug addiction. So one of the things that we try to do is to add to them. Let me just share with you, how do we, when it comes to, for example, Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, my favorite, again, is Facebook. And write this down. I think this will might be like a template that you could use. On Sunday, what we try to do is put service sample, quotes, video moments, and we share the service Facebook Live. And if you're doing the Facebook Live, make sure you have somebody in your church moderating. And what you want to do is spark discussion. Now, one of the things that we started recently doing, it was amazing, was right before I began to share a couple of weeks ago, I said, you know what, I want us to do something different. Well, what I want us to do is I want everybody to pull out their cell phones. I know we tend to tell people, shut the cell phone. My church, I said, turn it on. Take all the pictures you want, put all the comments. I want you to be putting the word out. But I said, I want you to share a church Facebook Live. And let me tell you, our viewership immediately in that day doubled in one day what it would have taken us a whole week to have half of that. And so what we want to do is engage our people to have this mentality. This is not just for me. I got to tell somebody. I got to share it with somebody else. On Monday, we have the template that we use for that is back to the Bible. And so we announce what's going to be the book of the week that we're going to read together as a church. And also we'll put Bible quotes. Tuesday, we feature the volunteer of the week. Our volunteer team, we call it the dream team. As a matter of fact, we don't even use the word volunteer. Volunteer sounds like somebody that's doing something they don't want to do. Have you ever done what I did in the past? If you really love Jesus, you know, we got a children's church here. And we need more children's church teachers. And if you really love Jesus, you're going to help in children's church. Somebody says, I love Jesus. I really love Jesus, but I hate kids. So they go and they sign up, they go to children's church, and when they get there, I say, oh my God, look at these kids. And let me tell you, kids pick that, don't they? They sense that. They're like, Mom, I ain't coming to church next Sunday. And you just lost your whole family. The whole family just went out the door. So we don't use the word volunteers. We call them dream teamers. They're part of the dream team, and we want you to do what you love. Guess what, pastors? We get to do that. How many of you love being a pastor? Because if you don't love being a pastor, you should be changing ministries. Amen. It's okay to change ministry, pastors. We do this because God gave us a love for people. And so I want to encourage you to on Tuesday, put that appreciation, recognition, recognize people who make things happen. Because watch this. This is so important. Culture is determined by what you celebrate. So if you celebrate people who are making a difference in your church online, then people are going to catch that. Whatever is celebrated is repeated. Whatever is celebrated, people are going to get connected to that. And they're going to look forward to being part of that. On Wednesdays online, we feature the ministry of the week. The day before was a volunteer. And we start with the ministry that is often least recognized. So whether you have a parking ministry, whether it's the facilities teams, they never get any credit. The sound team, they only get looked at when you get feedback. You ever notice that in church? The only time people look to the back is like, hey, man, get it together back there. What's wrong, man? What's all that echo coming from? So feature the least known. But what we want to do is to put a face to the ministry. It humanizes it. Thursday is open. The media team just decide what they want to put on Thursday. Friday I call it is Friday, but Sunday is coming. And what happens on that Friday, we promote Sunday. We use promotional material for Sunday. Saturday is when most, if they're going to check your social media, I'm talking about those who are intending to come to your church, they're going to do it on Saturdays. So I want to encourage you that on Saturdays, you put in your social media that which will make it attractive for them to come to your church service. And what we want to do with all of this, regardless of how you use social media, that you point it back to your website. You wanna create a bridge for people to go to your website and to get them to do one thing. So let me talk to you briefly about your website. Our website is geared towards one person, and that is the guest. The people in my church are already convinced. The people in my church normally do not go to the website unless they're going to get something specific there, but it's really for our guests. And I have to tell you that your website says a lot about your church. It will speak whether it's sloppy or whether there's excellence in your church. It will speak whether it says, come to the next event. 2016, December the 25th. And that was the last thing you put. They'll be like, man, there's nothing happening in that church. The last time they posted something was 3 years ago. And so if you're on our website, you want it to be current, you want it to be live. And so the question is, what do you have to offer? And you don't have to be a super techie because literally you're already doing the work. So for example, you preach wonderful messages. Why not get it transcribed? There's plenty of online services to get it transcribed. You get 10 of the sermon, you already got an online book. And you could offer that for free. How many of you like free? Let me see your hands. You like free? The rest of you, we're praying for you. Come on. Praise the Lord. But you could also have kids pre-registration where the families, let me tell you, the millennials nowadays, they're looking for you to make it as easy as possible. And so what I see in some churches, what they do, they could literally pre-register their children in the way to church. So once they get there and they go through the kids checking center, it's already done and they could just go straight into children's church. And you know, in some churches like ours, if the class gets too full, it's closed. I won't have 60 kids with 2 teachers. All right? The Board of Ed doesn't even do that, as bad as they could get. And so we put a cap. And so really what we're saying to the families, we care about your kids. We care so much for it that we want to make it as easy as possible for you to check in the kids. And so the other thing is, I know sometimes you say, how come my church is in page 3 when I Google, if I put Brooklyn churches, right? So let me just give you a little tip. How many of you from Brooklyn? Let me see your hand. Where are my Bronx people? Anybody from the Bronx? Okay. Oh, praise the Lord. It's good to see you, my brother. So Queens, all right, Staten Island. Oh, there's hope for America. Come on. Manhattan. Oh, we're still praying for, we got one in Manhattan. All right, so for example, you are in Staten Island, right? And so you want to be in that first page because most likely, if you're not when people Google churches, Staten Island, if you're not in that first page, they're probably not going to visit your website. So what do you do? How many of you would like to know what do you do? All right, come next week and we'll talk about that. I'm just giving you some of the same dose you get to your congregation. So what you do is, the first thing is your website. If you look at my website, I start with Bronx Church. Because when Google is doing its searches, that first identification, as a matter of fact, our website is New Life. Guess what's the next word? Bronx. So I got Bronx in the domain name. I have Bronx and churches also in the first page. I have it in the tag. I have it in everything. Guess which one is the first church that shows up? in the Bronx, and I'm giving some tips to some of my Bronx people. I'm gonna get some competition right now, but that's all good. A challenge. It's all for the kingdom. How many know we're in the same kingdom, amen? One team. And so when people put Bronx Church, at least we're gonna get that first shot, or within the first 5. You want to be in the first 5 or 7 churches. You don't have to be a big church to do that. Now, Google review, you got to have at least 5 people to make comments about your church. So what do? Tell all your leaders, tell everybody in your church, what are they going to do this week? They're going to put a Google review in your church. How many stars are you going to get? 5 star. People are like, wow, this is a 5-star church. And so it's funny. I had to share. I only got about 5 minutes. I wish I had more time. But yeah, I had when I ran for office, I had somebody from chief of staff from another elected official who couldn't stand my guts and give us a 1 star. I finally approached the guy. I said, "Hey, have you ever been to our church?" "No." "Have you ever?" I said, "You gave us a 1 star. Do you mind taking the 1 star off?" "Okay, we'll take it." The war was over, and so he took it off, and then my ratings went back up. Come on, somebody. And so, but you know what? For me, I'm trying to get to that new person, because watch this. When somebody moves to your neighborhood, they're going to Google, and they're going to look for a new church. By the way, one of the things that we do, we have a service that we enroll in, and we pay for this service, to be able to get all the new people within a mile radius that come into our neighborhood. They get 2 invitation cards to visit our church. And then we follow up that with a letter, and we're still looking to see what we're going to do next. What I want to create is rivers or streams of people. You got to have at least 7 of them in your church that is rolling into your church. I'm running out of time here, so let me move really quick here. But one of the things you want to grab is their email. And the way to do that, offer them something free. Offer them that book that you published and you were not able to sell it. Come on. We all have one of those. You know, just put it online. Give it for free. Free is good. The other thing that I want to share with you is, it was a shock to me, is digital giving. I think I only have 4 people in our church. Last Easter, we had almost 800 people in our church. And so just to give you a sense, I think we have about only 4 people giving checks in our church. What I want to do is, how many of you like to increase your giving in your church? Let me see. Praise God. We're all on a mission, right? And it takes money. And it takes resources to do that, just like an army. And so one of the things that we do, we make it really easy for people to give. And so during offering time, we'll post it up in the video announcement. And we have, people can give by text. We have the one I'm really interested in is automated. And I share with the church that successful people automate all their systems, including their giving. And I use myself and my wife as an example. And I have to tell you, when it first began, the offerings, I remember one Sunday they came and there was like little cash. And I was like, oh man, we're in trouble. Then I come to find out that our offerings doubled because people gave it online. And so I'm not here to push a company and so forth, but find a good one, find a good way for people to be able to give online. We want our people to become generous. It just brings transformation in their lives. We want them, and by the way, we put it also in the envelope, the info on recurring gifts. 2 minutes. So 1 minute, I want to share with you what we do for Easter, because I know in high holidays. We take the 5 weeks before that. Let me use Easter as an example. Easter is not the end game. It used to be our end game. We're like, Easter's the high, and then the next week, every pastor is depressed. How many of you been depressed the week after? I know I have. And so I changed my mentality. What I decided was Easter is the beginning of a brand new series, a brand new season. It's just a brand new day. And so it's not the end, it's the beginning. And then I connected all the way to Mother's Day. So 5 weeks before that, we are blasting social media. We just hitting it hard. We're asking people to work it for Easter. And then in Easter, we give an incentive for them to come back the next week. I literally have 50 seconds. I like to honor time. I have much more, but I want to say this. The whole goal, listen to me, church, this is really important, is to get all the people who are watching online, all the people who are on your Twitter account, Instagram, to get to church. And how do we do that? And here's my last thought. The Bible says that in 1 Corinthians 14 that they will come to your church. They're going to hear a prophetic word. They're going to hear a word from the Lord. And their hearts will be revealed. And they will bow down and worship. We got to have something in church. Because I know some of you are aware, if I do it online, they're not going to come to church. We got to have something in church that they cannot get at home. And that is the presence of the Lord. That is the power of God. That is people literally getting physically healed. That means children coming to Jesus. That means people getting delivered by the glory and majestic power of Jesus. I'm not talking to the church today. I'm talking about that when they walk in, they literally feel the presence of the Lord. They feel the power of God in church. And they'll be able to truly say, God is in the house. God bless you.
It has truly been inspiring, encouraging, and teaching that I, as well as all the others, I'm sure, needed at this day and time for the growth of our ministries, the growth of our churches, the growth of people that are intending to try their best to fulfill their call in life, to fulfill their walk with the Lord Jesus Christ.
God is healer, awesome.